Podcast. Pauli.
All right, so you wanted the inside scoop on FC St. Pauli's win and how this whole fan ownership thing is going.
And we're diving deep.
Oh, yeah, with some pretty cool sources this time. Fan podcasts.
And blog posts.
It's like game day, but from the fans' perspective.
Raw, unfiltered passion straight from the heart of the St. Pauli community.
Exactly. We've got St. POP podcast is Hoffenheim, which they recorded right after that win against Hoffenheim. And we also have the Übersteiger blog.
Known for their witty takes on all things St. Pauli.
They always are. Let's start with that win 2-0 against Hoffenheim.
Classic underdog story, right?
Totally. And the Übersteiger blog pointed out something kind of funny, Hoffenheim, all about sustainability. And they were selling seat cushions wrapped in plastic.
Little ironic.
For sure. But what about the atmosphere at the game? What stood out to you from what the fans were saying?
Übersteiger blog described the away fan section as a zoo.
Oh, yeah, I get that. The contained chaos. That's what makes it so fun.
And then the podcast mentioned this crazy high-tech ordering app at the stadium.
Oh, yeah. 20 euros for 2 beers and 2 sausages.
Wow, convenience comes at a price.
That's for sure. And it sparked a debate online. Some fans thought it was a ripoff. Others love how easy it was. But let's get into the actual match. St. Pauli played smart.
Solid defense.
And well-timed counterattacks.
Which paid off.
Big time. The podcast was going crazy about Dapo Afolayan scoring with their very first shot on goal.
Talk about efficiency.
And how about Nikola Vasilj?
Amazing performance in goal. Both sources were raving about his saves.
He was on fire. The podcast even said the goalkeeper debate is over. Vasilj is the man.
Case closed.
But they also talked about Morgan Gilavogi hitting the post. Almost had another goal.
So close.
It really does sound like a roller coaster of emotions, even with that win.
Even with a comfortable win, for sure.
You could just hear the joy in the podcast hosts' voices when they talked about St. Pauli's fighting spirit.
I love that about fan-created content. It's contagious. You get swept up in their excitement.
Totally. And both sources highlighted some standout players, too, like Dapo Afolayan, of course, with that early goal, and then Carlo Bucalfa.
It sounds like he's having a resurgence.
Yeah. The podcast mentioned how well he's been playing under the new coach. And one of the hosts, you could tell, has been a Bucalfa believer for a while. He was so proud.
And that new coaching style really seems to be working for the team as a whole.
Right. It's amazing how a new approach can unlock a player's potential. Then there's Jojo Eggestein. He's really found his groove since they switched to 2 attacking wingers.
Interesting.
Yeah, but there were actually some differing opinions about him on the podcast, which I thought was interesting.
Even the most diehard fans have their favorites, and those they're not so sure about. It makes the analysis more human. What else caught your ear?
Honestly, it was the mix of, tactical stuff and then these personal stories. Like the podcast host getting annoyed with people mispronouncing player names.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
Me too. Like Saliakas versus Salakis.
Yeah.
It's those little things that make you feel like you're part of the conversation.
Like you're right there with them.
But okay, enough about Hoffenheim. Let's talk Bayern Munich.
Now that's a whole other beast.
Talk about a clash of titans. I wonder what the fans are expecting from this matchup.
Well, based on the podcast, it sounds like a mix of excitement and nerves. They know it's a long shot, but there's always that hope for an upset.
Right, and they mostly just want to see a good competitive game.
Which, against Bayern, would be an accomplishment in itself.
Seriously, and the podcast hosts were making jokes about St. Pauli being the underdog. It was funny.
I love that they can laugh at the situation. Okay, so now for another big topic, the Genossenschaftsanteil. This fan ownership thing is pretty fascinating.
It is, and the podcast had some mixed feelings about it. Some were skeptical about the price and what you actually get for investing.
Which makes sense. It's a big decision when you're talking about owning a piece of the club.
Totally. And they talked about this savings plan that apparently exists to make it more affordable, but no one knows about it.
That's a problem.
Right. And then there's the whole debate about how it's being presented. Is it about rescuing the club from debt?
Or building something new and exciting.
Exactly. They even suggested offering perks for investors, like exclusive merch or events.
I love that idea. Make
Yeah.
you feel like you're really part of something special.
Right. It would tap into that whole community aspect that's so important to FC St. Pauli.
They even imagined local businesses displaying their Genossenschaftsanteil certificates, like a badge of honor.
That would be awesome. It would show that this isn't just about individual fans, but the whole community coming together. But the podcast also brought up concerns about it not being accessible to everyone.
Which is a valid point. Fan ownership should be inclusive. not just for the wealthy.
They said the full cost is actually €850 payable over 5 years.
Which is a considerable amount of money.
And there's no guarantee of any return on that investment during that time.
So it really becomes a question of passion versus pragmatism. Are you investing in your love for the club?
Or hoping for financial gain.
Tough choices.
For sure. And that's where things get really interesting. Stay tuned, because we're going to dive even deeper into those passionate opinions and discussions around the Genossenschaftsanteil. And of course, we can't forget about that Bayern Munich game coming up.
So the fans are clearly fired up about that Hoffenheim win. But this Genossenschaftsanteil thing seems to be causing some head-scratching.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. It's not just about, slapping down €100 and calling it a day.
Right. The podcast really got into the nitty-gritty of the costs and the implications for fans.
They pointed out that the full cost over 5 years is actually €850, and there's no guarantee of any return on that investment during that time.
That's a big chunk of change, especially when you consider that you could be earning interest if you invested that money elsewhere.
It really does highlight the dilemma fans are facing, that balance between passion and pragmatism.
Absolutely. And the podcast hosts were wrestling with that, too. They acknowledge the emotional pull of wanting to support the club, but also the need to be realistic about the financial commitment.
They felt that the way it's being presented is a bit too focused on the debt repayment side of things.
Right. It's like, help us out of this hole instead of join us in building something amazing.
Exactly. And they had some really creative ideas for how to shift that narrative, like offering exclusive perks to Genossenschaftsanteil holders.
Oh, yeah, like special merch or access to events.
I thought that was a brilliant idea. It would give people a tangible sense of ownership and belonging.
It taps into that pride that St. Pauli fans have. And they even imagined local businesses proudly displaying their Genossenschaftsanteil certificates.
Like a badge of honor. It would show that the club is woven into the fabric of the community.
It's a powerful image. And it speaks to that bigger question of how football clubs can become more integrated into the communities they represent.
But let's not forget about that looming match against Bayern Munich. How do you think this whole Genossenschaftsanteil thing might play into that game?
It's interesting to think about. Could it actually be a source of inspiration for the team? A reminder that they're playing for something bigger than themselves?
Right. It's about community spirit and defying the odds and showing the world that there's more to football than just money and trophies.
So what were the fans' predictions for the Bayern Munich game? Any sense of optimism?
Well, the podcast didn't get too tactical, but you could definitely hear the nerves. They know it's a David versus Goliath situation.
But there's always that chance of an upset,
yeah, right? And they were making some pretty funny jokes about the whole thing, too, like comparing Bayern's budget to St. Pauli's.
I love that they can find humor in it.
Yeah.
It's that self-awareness that makes them so relatable.
But beneath the jokes, you could also sense a genuine desire for a competitive match. Even in defeat, there's honor in pushing a powerhouse team to their limits.
It's about playing with heart and grit and showing the world what St. Pauli stands for.
And that brings us back to that bigger question that we've been circling around this whole time.
Can FC St. Pauli, with its passionate fan base and community-driven approach, actually become a model for other clubs?
Can they show the world that there's another way to be a successful football club?
A way that prioritizes values and community engagement over just winning at all costs?
It's a question that I think we're both still wrestling with.
There's no easy answer. But what we can say for sure is that FC St. Pauli is doing things differently. They're challenging the status quo, and they're doing it with a lot of heart and humor.
And they're showing the world that it's possible to be a competitive football club without sacrificing your values.
And regardless of the outcome of that Bayern Munich game, they've already done something remarkable. They've built a community that extends far beyond the boundaries of the pitch.
And that's something worth celebrating. So what are your thoughts on all of this? We'd love to hear your perspective. And be sure to tune in to our next deep dive where we'll explore.
So we've really gotten a feel for the excitement surrounding that Hoffenheim win and dug into the nuances of the Genossenschaftsanteil.
And now we're looking ahead to Bayern Munich.
A true clash of titans.
It's been amazing to hear directly from the fans through these podcasts and blog posts.
Yeah, you really get a sense of what makes FC St. Pauli so special.
It's more than just a football club. It's a community. It's a movement. It's
a way of life almost.
And what I love is that they're not afraid to be different, to challenge the status quo,
To stand up for what they believe in.
Exactly. And they do it all with this incredible sense of humor and self-awareness.
That's what makes them so relatable, I think.
Yeah.
Even when they're talking about serious issues like fan ownership or the financial realities of the Bundesliga, there's always this undercurrent of joy and defiance.
They don't take themselves too seriously, which is refreshing.
It is. It makes you want to root for them even more.
So we've explored these fan perspectives, we've analyzed the Genossenschaftsanteil, we've looked ahead to the Bayern Munich match, and I think it all comes back to this one question.
Big question, I think.
Can FC St. Pauli, with its passionate fan base, its unique community-driven approach, can they actually become a model for other clubs?
Can they show the world that there's another way to be a successful football club? A way that prioritizes values and community engagement over just winning at all costs?
It's a question that we're still pondering, and I don't think there's an easy answer.
No. But what we can say for sure is that St. Pauli is blazing a trail. They're showing that it's possible to be competitive and successful without sacrificing your ideals.
They're proving that fan ownership can work, and that a deep connection to the community can be a real source of strength.
And regardless of what happens in that Bayern Munich match, they've already achieved something truly remarkable.
They've built a community, a movement, a family that extends far beyond the boundaries of the pitch, and that's something worth celebrating. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of FC St. Pauli, we want to thank you for joining us, and we hope you'll continue to follow their journey as they challenge conventions and redefine what it means to be a football club.
St. Pauli's Up Podcast. St. Pauli.